Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boleyn Lounge Tuesday talk show, and hope you enjoyed the new intro video. Thanks to Budgie. You're a very creative man, Budge. Thanks for that,
Thanks, mate.
mate.
No, it's fine. It's good.
And much happier week for all of us, I should think, this week after a fantastic result on the weekend. And
Yeah,
we're going to talk about that now, obviously. Um,
yeah.
you must have enjoyed that, Budgie. Pretty good display, wasn't it?
I,
Yeah,
I
go
I
on.
was
Sorry, mate.
suitably impressed with the effort and the determination of every one of the players that came onto the pitch, whether it be the starting 11 or the subs. I thought everybody had a good dig at it. Um, I thought Ollie Scholes was just impeccable for his full debut. Um, we'll talk a little bit more about him in depth a
I'm
little bit
sure we
later
will.
on. Because obviously people in the chat are going to want to talk about him as well. He was incredible. Again, Wan-Bissaka, incredible. And I thought, I have to agree with what Stell said last night. In that, I thought that Aaron Creswell had his best game in over a year in any of the games that he played in. He started and finished the game, and I thought he was impeccable throughout. You know. So yeah, I was suitably impressed with everybody's performances. Even Kudos stepped up. You know,
Yeah, you have to say, if there were question marks over Potter, did he get it right or wrong last week? What was his team selection like? Then he put that to bed this week. Although I have to admit, when I saw the team announced, especially the midfield, I thought there might be a bit of an outcry about some of our fan base might not be too pleased about seeing Alvarez, Soucek, and Ward Prowse in that midfield.
yeah,
And I must admit, I was a little bit worried about it. If you measure them up against Odegaard, Partey, and Rice.
yeah.
You, what a job they did.
I,
And
I was about to say that. I think that a lot of us had some misgivings about it, but they all seemed to be unfounded. I thought they were impeccable throughout the whole game.
well, I think the back five were all great in their own right, weren't they? Kilman, after looking absolutely dreadful next to Mavropanos in a two last week, um, was back to a pretty towering display. One mistake, yeah,
Yeah,
kicked the ball, didn't he? That could have got ugly. Got
yeah,
away with it, right? A bit like Mavropanos later on came away, gave away the free kick, bit unnecessarily in the deep. But you know what? We got away with it. So we'll 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 take our luck when we get it. But overall,
yeah.
they were brilliant. You mentioned Cresswell. I thought he was superb. You would worry about Cresswell
You would,
with the pace.
you
He
would.
he he used his noddle, didn't he? He used his experience, and
Mm.
and he Bowen was a toe away from Cresswell getting an assist, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know.
and also, he had two heads on as well at the weekend. He had his player head on, where he was focused on everything he had to do, and yet he mentored Ollie Scholes throughout the whole game,
Yeah, as
and
you said,
that was
we'll talk about
incredible.
Ollie Scarles, but he what a
Yeah,
terrific game he had, and I'm sure we'll want to wax lyrical about him as the
yeah. But
show
what I'm
goes
saying
on.
is that Creswell, on top of his own duties, took that mentoring duty on as well, and he was guiding him throughout the whole game. You could see it. You could sense it. It was great to see, and the fact that Ollie Scholes, um, reacted in the way he did with his performance, it just goes to show how good, um, how good a job Creswell did. Because I think Ollie might have been a little bit overawed at the beginning, but I think Creswell kept him well balanced throughout the
Yeah,
early
well,
stages of the
it was a
game.
great display from the team, wasn't
It
it?
was. It
And
was.
Potter, I think, tactically was superb. He got so much right.
It
He
did.
took a bit of sting out of the game, didn't he? Early doors, we kept a bit of the possession. We sort of passed it around our back and sideways, and then sort of lumped it up for Soucek or Bowen to compete. And when we did that, it was largely ineffective. But what we did slow the game down. And then when we made those counter-attacking moves, that's when we looked like we might open them up. And prior to the goal, Wan-Bissaka, similar move, pulls the cut back. And you could argue that perhaps Bowen should, on another day, get that on target. Perhaps not
Mhm.
score, but force the goalkeeper into a save. But
Yep.
little warning sign for Arsenal there. And the goal was like a bit of a mirror image of that, wasn't it? I have to say, when Wabasaka was going down the right hand side there, I was screaming at Kudus like, get in the box, give him something to hit. And Kudus
Yeah.
looked like he was kind of ambling up there. And then Bowen made a terrific late run in the box, just appeared out of nowhere, got on the end of it, and it was fantastic. I don't know whether we really deserved to be a goal up at half time, but it was exactly what we needed.
Yep.
And second half, we came out, played like that counter-attacking game. Yeah, the red card, there was an opportunity perhaps to score. We said there earlier about Cresswell's whip into the box that Bowen was just short of getting on the end
Yep.
of.
Yep.
Um, Ward-Prowse's foot race with Raya, they looked a bit raggedy at times, Arsenal. And I tell you
Yep.
what, I thought last week Brentford did quite a professional job on us and came and got a good away win. Do you know what? We did that exactly that to Arsenal this week. Full credit to Potter. One of the
Yep.
things I was impressed with, we restricted Arsenal to two corners in the whole game and two free kicks I can remember that we conceded around our own penalty box.
Yep. Yep.
Um, I don't think that was by accident, you know. I
Mm.
think he set them up, said they're dangerous from set pieces. Let's not give
Yep.
anything unnecessary away. The players absolutely went out and carried out his instructions. We looked like
Yeah.
an absolute team, complete team effort, and
Yeah.
I think we got a well-deserved win in the end.
Yeah. And I think, you mentioned the midfielders earlier on, Alvarez, Soucek and Ward-Prowse. And I think they done an excellent job of sealing Declan Rice's fate to being subbed off because they nullified him. They didn't give him a chance to really be effective in the game. And it was quite satisfying to watch him looking
It
on as Jarrod
it really
Bowen
was.
pop
I've
that
got no
header in.
malice towards Declan
No,
Rice, and
no,
I
but it
wish him
was
every
it.
success in his career and all that.
Yeah,
But
but that was
when
deeply
your
satisfying.
players left to your London rival to win trophies
Yeah,
and get subbed inside the hour against you in a game that
you're
probably
ineffective
effectively
in.
ends their title challenge for this year, you
Yeah,
can't help but have a little smile to yourself, can you?
can you? I mean, come on, I mean, even if he's your best mate in civilian life, you're still going to have a giggle over a little win
Oh,
like that,
come
aren't
on.
you?
Football banter, that's
You know,
football banter
of
gold,
course
isn't it?
it is. Of course it is. And talking of football banter gold, got to take your hat off to all the boys and girls that travelled over there to go and watch it. And yes, they were quite unfriendly towards Declan Rice. But as you say, it was banter, and yeah, he knew it was such. But it was just really good that the support had the opportunity to be the only away support this year to celebrate a win at the Emirates Stadium. You
Yeah,
know,
it's brilliant, isn't it?
or the first, let's say that.
Yeah,
But I mean, we've had many firsts against them, where and
we have.
and other teams like Tottenham as well. Like first to win in their stadiums, etc.,
Yeah, yeah.
etc. So it was nice that we were also with a somewhat questionable midfield at the beginning of the game on paper, managed to force Declan Rice's substitution.
Yeah.
And they did that. They did that on their own. They were quality. They were really good. They nullified him. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
I have to say, I'm getting a bit conscious that in our euphoria of our unexpected, or it's at least on my part, because I have to hold my hands up, and I predicted us to be well beaten
I
uh,
did too. I did
the
too.
weekend, and that wasn't the case. So I'm absolutely delighted I was wrong. But I haven't acknowledged all of the chat, so I'd just like to say hello to everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining us, and I'll come to some of your comments now. Uh, Damien says, I'll drop
Oh,
in, mate. Shameful of me not to have subscribed already. Just done both. Like and subscribe. Big up, Jeff. Thanks, Damien. Welcome aboard.
nice one,
And if
Damien.
anyone else hasn't subscribed, please do so. It costs nothing, takes a second, and we really do appreciate it. Toa's in. He says, Evening,
Good
Jeff.
evening,
Hope
Brendan.
you're well. And hi to the chat. I'm really well, as you can probably tell. And
Mm,
welcome back, Toha. Good to see you, mate. And he says hi to you as well, Budge.
Brendan,
Colin's in. Good evening, Colin from Anglesey. Welcome in. He's a
welcome.
foreigner from another country.
Well, kind of. Yeah.
And is Holly Head Port open now, Colin? Okay, I didn't know there was anything going down there, but he says it is. So whatever with the hold up was is sorted.
It's
Aces
all
is
gone.
in. Good evening, Aces. Thanks for joining
Aces,
us.
good evening.
And a fantastic performance from the squad, he says.
No,
Absolutely agree. Great
no
performance
arguments
all
from
round
us.
from the lads. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Terence is in. Good evening, Terence. Thanks for joining us again. Says,
Terence,
gentlemen, it's great being the father of a gooner. Haven't stopped laughing and taking the piss. Yes, I do remember that your household was going to be lively on Saturday
yeah,
afternoon.
on
I bet you
Saturday, yeah.
thoroughly enjoyed that, mate.
Mm, yeah. Well, actually, on the Sunday, I had to go and do a little job round at my mate's house, who is staunch Arsenal. So you can imagine the atmosphere in there on Sunday was rather tenuous.
Asa says Lee Gunner out tactics Fraudetta. And I'm sure some of the Arsenal fans will probably
Yeah.
agree with agree with
Mm,
that. They're not too happy, are they? Terry says I was happy with the tactics against the Gunners, but no way should we set up like this against the Foxes. Yeah, interesting. I'm sure we'll talk about our upcoming game on Thursday evening. But yeah, I've been thinking about this, and as effective as that was, and it worked really well for us in that game, in those circumstances, I don't think any of us want to see us set up and play like that every game
no.
against every opposition. And if you're playing Leicester, who are struggling, you kind of want to go at their throats, don't you? And I hope Potter does. I kind of think he might, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the perfect game to start Luis Guilherme in.
Yeah, maybe. Or
It would.
introduce him, give him a few more minutes. I'm not sure if he starts,
I,
but
I'd I'd
I
give
get
him
your sentiment though.
I'd give him the first 45 and see what he can do.
I'd
You
like us
know,
to be 3-0 up at half time and tell him to go out in the second half and enjoy himself. But
but that would be good. Yeah, that would be a way to go. That would be a way to go.
Colin Chilvers is in. Good evening, Colin.
Good
Thanks for
evening,
joining us
Colin.
again, mate. He says, Good evening, Jeff and Budgie. I said we would win, even had money on the win. Now I will say it
He
now.
did.
We will win Thursday, and I will predict now at the end of next season, top six. Potter will be great. Well, you've definitely got your tail up, Colin. And I think top six next season might be a bit of a big ask, but let's see how he
Let's
develops
see
the
what we
team.
can do.
Let's see what happens in the summer. And
Colin,
nothing wrong
if
with
all
ambition anyway, that's for
if
sure.
it I know, and if all of that ambition comes to fruition, I promise you now, you remind me when that happens, and I promise you I will come to where you are, take you out for a bite to eat and a beer.
Wazim's joined us. Good
That's a
evening,
promise.
Wazim. Thanks for dropping in.
Evening was him.
And Words and Pictures is in. Thanks for joining us, buddy. And
WP.
He says, Potter, see, I've wrong glasses, Budge. Can you read that, mate?
Yeah, Potter seemingly is listening to the players, what they're comfortable playing, analysing their skills and how they interact with other players, transferring that to a workable tactical system on the pitch. And I agree. I agree.
We look
That looks
cohesive,
like
didn't
it
we?
looks like that's what's happening. Yeah,
There was a proper plan against
mm,
Arsenal,
it was
uh, and
indeed.
they and they executed it, I think, brilliantly. By the way,
Yeah, they did. And down to a man, as we've said already,
yeah.
we felt that every one of them had bought into it and really executed it really well. Yeah, every single one of them. It was great to see.
Even Mavropanos, I have to say, when he
Had a
when he
decent
came
game.
on, I kind of had my head in my hands. I was like, oh God, this is where the wheels come off for us, right?
Yeah,
And look, he gave away unnecessary free kick. He didn't need to dive in there and do that. But like I said
yeah.
earlier, we we got away with that. There was no damage done. Do you know what? Other than that, he didn't do anything wrong, did he?
No, he had a decent game.
The
You
difference
know,
is when you see Tadibo there, he just gives you so much more confidence when he's on the ball and the ball's at his feet, doesn't he?
you know something like completely different players,
Yeah.
and I would never compare them. I'm talking about. I'm going to name another player in a minute. I would never compare their playing styles or their abilities or anything like that. But the kind of confidence that he gives me as the fan is the sort of confidence that I used to get from Winston Reid. I used to know he was pretty solid in that back four, back three, or wherever they played him in. And he kind of, once you knew that Winston Reid was in there, you kind of knew that the back would be okay, you know. And that's how John Claire Tadivo makes me feel.
I absolutely
Expect
feel more confident. I mean, we haven't seen lots of him, right?
no,
I still
but
feel more confident with him there than
yeah,
Mavropanos.
yeah, of course, yeah. And with him and Kilman and with Creswell at the weekend, I mean that was a fantastic back three.
Yeah,
You know,
and
it
Cresswell, nod
really
to
was.
Cresswell, but we have give him a nod, but he
Yeah,
deserves recognition. They all
yeah,
do, though.
cool.
To be fair,
Yeah.
Ian's joined us. He says good evening, and he says you
Evening,
get the
Ian.
feeling our players are now being coached properly, don't you? And absolutely. Now
Yes.
we look like there is some rhyme and reason to what we're trying to achieve. Now, we might not execute it brilliantly all of the time. We might fall down in certain areas of the pitch where it's not quite all clicking just yet, but you can see what he's working towards. That's encouraging. He hasn't been there a long time, and he has had quite a lot to deal with. With so you talk about injuries for Arsenal, and that's part of the excuse why they didn't win at the weekend. But we were equally affected by injuries and key players to our team as well. So I think we deserve the credit for that win rather than making excuses for Arsenal. But
But that's
I am
that's
biased,
the
but
way. Yeah,
that's just
yeah,
my
but that's
opinion.
the way it goes, though. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered if it had been Crystal Palace or Southampton or Everton or Liverpool who had beaten Arsenal. It would all be about how bad Arsenal were. It would never be about how good the other team were. The fact that it was us and that we are West Ham fans and we may sound a little bit biased and this and that. It will always be about how badly Arsenal performed. It won't be. In fairness, in fairness, um, what's his name? Was it Tony Cottee or was it? No, it wasn't Tony Cottee. It was one of the commentators on the TNT channel, I think. He basically gave a lot of credit to us. He said, yeah, Arsenal were very poor. He said, but West Ham arrived. West Ham turned up, and West Ham like played that game from the first minute to the last minute, and they deserved to win. You know, Andy. the old Chelsea player, Andy Townsend.
Yeah, right.
And Andy Townsend it was that said that. And for him to give any praise to us is very
Yeah,
rare,
that's true.
you know. But he did, in fairness, give us some credit, a lot of credit during the commentary. You know, he said that it was a very well structured win. I think was his words.
Yeah, no, like I say, I think last week Brentford were very professional with their away win
Yep,
against us, and I
yep,
think we
they
did
were.
exactly in a slightly different way, but we did exactly to Arsenal what Brentford
Yep,
did to us, and
yep,
we deserved it, in my opinion. Terence says we set up perfectly. Arteta didn't have a clue how to make changes to go through us. Got to give Potter respect. He knew tactically how to expose Arteta, and I agree with that because I think it's not by accident that we restricted that. I'm sure it was a dream that we only gave away 2 corners in 90 minutes, right? But
yeah.
I don't think it was by accident that we tried to avoid desperately giving away set pieces to Arsenal. And I think that's down to Potter. I don't see anything like that. I don't see anything like that structure that we had on Saturday would have happened under Lopetegui. I really don't. He's been there
Definitely.
half a dozen games and he turned out a performance like that. Lopetegui was there 20, and probably the best
And
we got
every single
was
player was
Newcastle,
driven.
right? Which we
Yeah,
raved about.
yeah. I mean, every single player was driven at the weekend. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
looked
It
like
was
it
definitely a
looked like
proper
they
team
all wanted
performance.
it, didn't they? You
Yeah,
know,
they did.
it didn't look like anyone was going to go missing from the
No, and
moment
they were
it
playing
was.
for each other, definitely. They were playing as a
Yeah,
team. And this
and
is,
Caduce's team game got a lot better as well at the
well,
weekend.
just while we're talking about Kudus, I mean, I think he had a terrific game. He came
He
up
did.
for some criticism at the end with his pass to Ferguson, and my personal opinion, I think he should have drove at goal and perhaps got effort away, or drove at goal and then squared it across to Ferguson in either or. Um, but I think what he showed, he's been often criticised of being selfish and not much of a team player at times.
Yeah, yeah,
And although it didn't work out correctly for him, the pass was a little bit behind Ferguson. And I think on that occasion, he probably made the wrong decision. Actually, he showed a bit of team effort there, right, to try and set up a teammate. So for
yeah.
me, that was actually positive. Even though it didn't work out in that action, I still think that's actually quite
Mhm.
positive. And going forwards,
But
that
as
really
West
might
Ham
benefit
fans,
our team.
you know, I think one of the elements of our mantra is that it's about the effort, not the end result. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, we love it when he goes on those sparkly runs and stuff because he's trying to make something happen. We love to see it. We love to watch it, you know. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know, and it's like these cute little passes that Paqueta does and these little step overs and stuff that they all try to do and we love to see it, and when it works, it's beautiful. When it don't work, it can be very dangerous, obviously.
Well,
But
Kudus done his little trick, didn't he? Sort of lay off like, and Rice didn't take too kindly to that. Came into the back of him just after that, didn't he? So he,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it was a little bit showboating going on there. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, cheeky. It's nice to see that. We love it when Paqueta does all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, we love all of that. You know, especially if you're doing it in their backyard. You know.
yeah. Of course,
Colin says, Jeff and Budgie, it's a pleasure to be enjoying your company and talking about the great win. Um, yeah, it's a
very nice of
pleasure
you to say.
for you to join us, Colin. Thanks for supporting the channel and all your contributions in the chat. Toa's asking Terence how his son took it. So I'll be interested later in the comments
Yeah,
to see exactly how Terence is.
see the response to that bugger. Yeah, uh,
Leslie's joined us. Good evening, Leslie. He says, evening, Jeff
evening,
and
Leslie.
Budgie. Great to be able to join the show. Sorry I'm late from France. No problem. Thanks for joining us, Leslie.
Mate,
Appreciate it, mate.
it's great that you were able to make it in at all, buddy.
And Tony's popped in the chat. Hi, Tony. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Evening,
Hope
Tone.
you're not too knackered after your long drive back from Manchester.
Oh, yeah, he's had to drive all the way home, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, bless his little cotton.
I'll try and catch up with the chat. Now, I tell you one thing I did do before we kind of move on. Will say we've got to talk about Ollie Scholes. So we mentioned
Let's do that.
Kudus, and I think he was a lot of people's man of the match. There's a couple of real. I feel we've said what a great team performance it was, and if you want to pick out any certain individuals, crack on, Budgie. There's a
Yeah,
couple that I'd like to mention. Kudus, we've kind
please.
of touched. I think he was a lot of people's man of the match.
Yeah,
Me personally, I'd like to give it to Ollie Skiles because I
yeah.
think for to make his full debut in the stadium in an important game like that, perform the way he did through 90 minutes, and he was so impressive. His tackling is so clean, and the way he stays on his feet, retains the ball, and then uses it so well afterwards, either carrying it or progressing it through his passing. He's so mature. He had such a good game for
He
such a
did.
young player.
He
I'd,
did.
I'd give him the man of the match personally. And
Yeah,
another standout player for me was Wan-Bissaka. I thought he had an absolutely terrific game as well.
he did. He did. Yeah.
Um, Happy to expand on any of those candidates if you'd wish to.
Yeah.
And if anyone in the chat wants to put their views in, please do.
Yeah.
But any other players you'd like to mention aside from those?
Um. Well, yeah, maybe, but I want to sort of touch a little bit on both of those two myself as well. So Ollie Scholes, as you said, I couldn't agree with you more on everything that you said about him. The one thing I'd like to add is that Stell came up with some stats last night, and I think there were about 20 stats that were listed, and he read out 11 of them, and they were all number one, Ollie Scholes. Interceptions, cut out passes, tackles, defensive retrievals, that sort of stuff. You know, there was about 20 items, and he read out 11 of them, I think it was, and they were all Ollie Scholes. You know, that he was number one in, like, you know, defensive work. His work rate was incredible. So yeah, you're right. He does agree. He does deserve to be given the man of the match. I agree with that. And Wan-Bissaka, again, as you said, you know, a great performance from him. Almost flawless, not quite, but you know, all I want to say is that if there are any Man United fans watching this, you know, he's crap at going forward, isn't he, mate? That's all I want to say on that. Yeah, and then obviously, you know, I think I have to say that I thought Aaron Creswell. We've already touched on that, and I think James Ward-Prowse had a bloody good game and all. You know, and obviously Jared Bowen too. But I think James Ward-Prowse had a good game.
The
Um,
thing
it,
is
it,
with Ward Prowse and Soucek, both of them in this game,
hmm?
um, they were impressive without being especially impressive.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like
know that's
that's what I
almost
mean.
a bit of a contradiction, but they just kind of went around there, didn't especially stand out.
Quietly went about their business,
I looked at a
doing their
couple of
job.
block tackles that Soucek made,
Yeah,
important blocks and tackles, and I just thought, God, if you do nothing else this game, but a bit of that you've kind of done your job, and just one
yeah,
of them kind
yeah.
of games.
And
Actually,
Ward-Prowse
just
did that,
talking
put a
about
couple of
things
little
like
passes through.
the block tackles. That's another thing I thought I want to give the team credit for because although
Mm.
Arsenal had 20 shots on goal,
There was only
Areola
two on
basically
target.
hardly had a save to make. And the amount of block shots where they got in front and threw themselves at
Yeah,
it, like
yeah.
it was a sterling effort from all of them.
Out of their
I forgot to
20
mention
shots,
that
they
earlier.
managed to get. Yeah, they managed to get two on target
Yeah,
out of their 20 shots. I think we managed to get three on target. It weren't that much better, but at least one of them ended up in a goal. which is what matters. Once it goes into the back of the net, mate, there's a job on your hands if you're on the opposite team. So, but I think that we didn't particularly defend the lead, and we didn't particularly chase the win. I think the whole team just went quietly about their business, causing Arsenal problems in every area of the field.
And we did cause them problems, right?
Yes,
We weren't tearing them apart or anything, but we
no,
definitely caused them problems.
yeah. I mean,
They
the
ran out
little
of
try,
ideas in the end as well, Budgie, and I think that's
yeah,
what that we've got to say. That's credit to Potter and the way the team performed. That they
yeah,
really were running at. Even the Arsenal fans were going, "We could still be playing now. We wouldn't have scored." Right?
score, yeah, exactly. And the little triangles between Ollie Scholes, Aaron Creswell, and Edson Alvarez, those little triangles between them three were almost pitch perfect. I mean, they didn't miss a beat between them, the three of them. I thought they were really good as a unit, you know, and it was like that all over the pitch. There were little units all really working well together. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great performance. And if we can see that regularly, who cares what the result is? I just, I think the results will come. You know, if we carry on playing with that kind of intensity and that kind of um, cohesion, I think
I, s-
I think we've
I,
worked
I don't
well
know if you
together.
saw this comment before, Budgie. I just started it. I scrolled past it before, but I've started it. I wanted
Okay,
to come back to it.
right, okay.
Phil says, "Good evening, Phil. Thanks for joining us, by the way." He says, "I've seen a stat that every clean sheet this year has been when Jean Claire and Kilman are together. I must admit, I didn't know that. But if that's true, that's an interesting stat, and probably underlines what we've been saying for a few weeks about. I think Kilman worries when Mavropanos is next to him. I think it affects his game,
I think it does. I think it
and
does.
also about how Tadibo gives you just that as a fan, he gives me an air of confidence
He does,
when he's got
and
the ball. It must be the same if you're playing alongside him, right?
you would think so, wouldn't you? I mean, he kind of exudes confidence. Anyway, I mean, when you see him walking onto the training ground and things like that, you just instantly take a liking to the guy. What's not to like about him? He's good at his job, and his job is to frustrate and stop the attacking players, and he does that beautifully, almost orchestrally. Do you know what I mean? When him and Kilman work together, it's almost orchestral. It's fantastic.
Just this comment from Toes, just
Yep,
changing the subject slightly, but around Skulls, he says, all we ever asked is that some young players got a chance and are running the team. The under 21s are on fire at the moment. Do they see a progression to the first team squad? Well, you have to say that under previous regimes, they probably didn't.
it was probably very cloudy. Yeah,
But they
you know,
must be encouraged by the new regime in the short time he's been there. They must be encouraged. They're seeing Skulls is almost got to have cemented his place in that team after that display. I don't know if he actually plays on Thursday because Potter maybe looks and says, "Do you know what, young
we
lad,
need Emerson.
hard 90 minutes. Yeah, game comes round quickly. Give him a rest and give him back to the second half or 20
Yeah,
minutes or half hour at the end." And if he decides that, do you know what? I'm fully on board with it.
me
But
too.
if he says, "Do you know what? He's young, he's raring to go, he's full of beans. I'm putting him in," and he gives him another 90 minutes on Thursday, I'm fully behind that as well.
Me
And
too. Me too.
you know, uh,
The thing is,
uh,
what we do know about Graham Potter, and we only know this because of his history as a coach, is that he develops youth players brilliantly. Right? He doesn't ever, rush them. He never forces anything from them. He kind of groom. I know it's a wrong word to use, but he kind of grooms performances out of them. We know that he can do that. Groom is a horrible word these days, I know, but I don't mean that in any sexual or offensive
In
way.
footballing
In
terms,
footballing terms,
yeah,
he grooms his players to play a certain way, and he doesn't make it the Graham Potter way. He makes it the Ollie Scholes way, but with Graham Potter's tutorage. You know, what Graham Potter is good at is developing players, regardless of their age, and he's he's already said on multiple post match and pre match interviews, I will use the youth players that I think are ready, but it's not a case of just chucking them in. You can ruin a player by doing that.
I
What you
agree.
do is you introduce them, you make them a part of the group, then you make them a part of the bigger group, as in the match day starting, squad or substitute, whatever. He said, and that's how you do it. You don't do it like, from under 18s to Premier League. You do that, you ruin a player.
No, I love the way that he's integrated Scholes into the team. I mean, he kind
Yeah.
of threw him in against Villa, didn't he? And went, go on, but a cup game, and that's something that any number of managers might do.
And it's something that any number of West Ham fans would have been calling for.
And then, yeah, absolutely. And then he gave him 45 minutes against Fulham, did he? I think
I think he did, yeah.
half hour, something like that. But he
Yeah,
brought him in, and the game mattered. It wasn't just 5 minutes at the end, meaningless minutes.
yeah,
And he gave him 20 minutes here and half hour there, and then he started him against Arsenal. Well, I just think it's brilliant, and there he gave that performance as well. Like fair play to the lad.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just I'm gushing about him. I've been a big fan of his for a while,
I
uh,
understand, mate. I understand.
and
And you kind
yeah,
of feel like a proud uncle to some degree,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah. I don't even know
you
the
know,
lad, but yeah, I
but you
absolutely
know what
chuffed
I
for him.
mean, though?
Yeah,
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 yeah, absolutely. And, like, that must give a lot of confidence and that also to players like Freddie Potts who have done their time out on loan. And like there's a thing on the West Ham YouTube channel about him being out on loan, and he says in that that he wants to play for West Ham. He loves his time
yeah,
at
yeah,
Wickham, and he loves being a part of that group, and he likes the first team football and that, and it's given him the drive and the determination to become a West Ham starting 11 player. That's his dream. And, Ollie Scholes getting a start this week must have given Freddie Potts a boost too. You know,
yeah.
it's that snowball effect,
Yeah,
that
definitely.
we talk
Kind of
about.
leads quite nicely into this comment from Tony.
Yeah,
And anyone who's not subscribed to Tony's channel, please look him up, give him a subscribe. Does some great stuff. And he says, I think with Potter, Brendan, he's obviously replying to
yeah,
her. He
yeah,
says, there's every chance that some of the under 21s will get a chance. At least he seems vested in them. And him and his coaches have watched several games.
yeah.
Um, Lots of the first team coaches are involved in around the youth team, so I don't think that side of it is especially new around West Ham. But
Well, the
he
fact
does
that
seem
Potter's there is
genuinely invested in the youth.
he
A
does,
la our
he does.
conversation with Scarles, he clearly trusts him enough to put him into these big
Yeah,
occasions,
yeah,
and he's come through it. And as you said, I think that'll give encouragement to Potts. Potts has
yeah.
gone off. He's having a great season down at
And
Portsmouth.
let's not
They
forget
love him down there. I think
yeah,
he'll come back and play for West Ham next year.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if he'll
And
start every week, but I think he will play for West Ham next year.
and let's not forget, Graham Potter also gave Evan Ferguson his Premier League debut at 18. You know, and so he's historically a player that gives a coach that gives young players opportunity. You know, and so I would say in answer to any of the questions that are, will we see any more youth players coming through? I think we will. I think Graham Potter knows exactly what he's doing and who he's doing that with, and I think he will do that in his own way, in in a kind of individual program for each player. He won't treat all of them en masse, and unless of course they come en masse, like a midfield partnership or something. But what I'm saying is that Potter will know. We've got a coach that will develop the youth how we would like to see it. We're going to get to see them on the bench. We're going to get to see them getting minutes. We're going to get to see them playing half an hour. We're going to get to see them starting the second half, maybe. You know what I mean? We may get to see this season. Not likely, but we might.
We might see some of it.
We're
Tony's
more
saying,
we're more likely to see it next season. Yeah,
Tony says, let's hope Kudus wasn't putting himself in the shop window, and with that performance, needs to do it in each game from now on. Well, he does need to do it in each game from now
he
on,
does.
for sure. And
I
we know
mean,
he's capable of it. What I will
yeah,
say about him putting himself in the shop window, um, if he is, and that's what he's doing, as long as he does that every week and we get the money from him, so be it in a way.
yeah,
If he wants to
yeah,
move on, he don't want to be at West Ham and be part of West Ham.
yeah,
Let's get our big bit of bunts out of it and invest it in someone who does want to be here. And as long
yeah,
as we get the best out of him in the meantime, let's do that. If we can keep him and he wants to grow to love the club and perform for the club, great. I mean, no rush to get rid of him, but whatever way it is, I'm kind of all right with it. Yeah, as long as
yeah.
it works out the best for
I
West
mean,
Ham.
look, look. He ain't the only player flashing his knickers at other teams, is he? Let's
No.
be fair. You know, um, Paqueta's been doing it since he arrived. I got a funny feeling that there are one or two others that have been trying to do that as well. Some of the newer um, signings. But hey, listen, that's what this game is all about. It's about players wanting to improve and wanting to develop their career in the best way they know how. And so, they might see other teams as bigger teams than West Ham, more likely to succeed at, and they will flash their knickers. But we have to accept it. There are players out there doing that for our coaching and development and scouting crews. You know, there are players out there flashing their knickers to us. So it happens. It happens. You can't take it personally. You know,
I wasn't laughing at you, but I was just laughing
no,
at Damien's comment there. Have you
God,
seen that?
no, hang on.
Read that out,
I,
mate.
I need a place in France to stay in the summer. It's my mission to get Andy Diouf to the club. Do you live anywhere near Lens FC? I felt loud joking. Mate, from what I know about Andy Diouf, he's actually a very decent player. And if it's your mission in life to do that, Damien, mate, fair play to you. Good player. Aaron
Damien, just
Wan-Bissaka,
while we were
right?
checking saying his man of the match was
Mm,
Wan-Bissaka. He had a great game, though. They all. It's hard to say anyone who had a
yeah.
poor game.
In fact, there's probably, I don't know, maybe four, realistically, there's four players that put in man of the match performances. Everybody stepped up, but there are probably four that put in man of the match performances for me. Be
Yeah.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Ollie Scholes, Aaron Creswell, and Mohamed Kudus. Right, them four were definitely the four best performances on the pitch on the day. Don't get me wrong; everybody else played their part and were great at it. But those were probably the four. But I would like to put a fifth name up and say Graham Potter, because I thought his tactics, his selection, his substitutions, and everything else were all spot on the day. So you could say that he's in for a shout for man of the match as well. You know.
I'm going to try and get through these comments. But what I did
Go
do,
for it.
and I must admit, I was anticipating a loss this weekend. As you know, we spoke about it
Mhm.
last week. And I just thought, half a dozen games in, let's have a little kind of manager head to head, see how Potter's doing.
Okay.
It reads a little bit better now with this 3 points
Okay.
and this performance over the weekend. But I'll stick it up on the screen.
I'll
You
tell
might
you
even
what.
actually
Yeah,
see it
I'll
better
read
than
them
me.
out, and then I'll read them out, and then you can keep putting comments up on the screen. And if there's any you want
Sure.
to point out, then do it. Right.
Well,
So,
there's it's based over the tenure. So
right. Okay.
Potter's stats are over the six Premier League games, and
Yeah.
Lopetegui's are over 20. And as you can see, I've simulated a 38 game season from their respective stats at the bottom there. And I'll just flick
Right.
through some comments and let you go through that if you don't mind, Budge.
No problem at all. So, yeah, on that then. So we've got goals for in Julian Lopetegui's favour. 24 goals for, 39 again, and that's a minus 15 goal difference with 23 points amassed. And sorry, Graham Potter. I nearly said Harry Potter then because of the H to H at the top. Goals for 6, goals against 8, goal difference -2. So that's a massive difference anyway. And there's only 7 points, but there are more games in Julian Lopetegui's tenure than there is.
And we have to
Um,
take this. It is a little bit tongue in cheek, you know.
it is, yeah,
It's their
it is.
stats, but
But
it's,
with
it's a
this
fun game, right? It's not deadly serious.
expected, yeah, with this um, what would you call that, projection, I suppose, of what could have happened with those
Yeah, kind of.
stats in place. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, so yeah, we've got. I missed out that it was goals for 1.2 per game in Lopetegui's tenure, 1 goal per game in um, Potter's, and that's 1.95 against, 1.33 against. So there's an improvement there. Points per game is that 1.15. Points per game 1.17. So that's an improvement. So yeah, with that, I suppose, with your projections though, it would have come out equal on points at the end of the season, which is ironic, really.
but what I've got to say, I will say this: before the win on Saturday,
Yeah,
Potter's points per game came out at 0.66. And over a 38 game season, if that was replicated, he would come out with 25 points, right? And because he won on Saturday,
yeah,
it changed his stats to that. And I tell you what, if we win on Thursday, I think it changed the stats to put another 10 points on his total or something. So,
really.
like, this is not too serious. This is exactly how it would be. It was just,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I say, to draw whatever comparison that you can, if any
yeah,
of it's relevant. Just a little bit of silliness, right?
yeah.
Like I
I
say,
mean,
it
mate,
reads a lot better now than it did before Saturday.
yeah,
But enough of that. Anyway,
you'd have to have a sports almanac for 2 or 3 years in the future to know exactly what's going to happen, wouldn't
I
you?
don't even know why I did it. It was just a little bit of
No, but
fun. Is it
no,
half
but
interesting or not?
it's interesting. It is interesting because at the current rate, at the current moment, only 6 games into Graham Potter's season, it comes out that they would be equal on points. Only 6 games in. How many games did Julian Lopetegui
20,
preside over? So
20
if
games.
you trebled the um, the result from the 6 games of let's just say that the 6 games would be the average for every 6 games that we played. And if you trebled it to 18 games, the stats would read very, very differently. We'd probably be on for like a 72-point season or
Yeah,
something, you know. So yeah, it is just a bit of fun, but it is interesting to know that the way things are at this moment in time, we've not got any worse.
no.
You know what I mean? All there is now is just improvement in on the horizon. You know, all we now everything now is an improvement on that period of time. Everything.
Here, Toe has got the right term here. I don't know if you've seen it, but he's right. Use nurture rather than groom. That was the term we were looking for.
That was it, mate. Thanks, Brendan. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I
I,
just want to
I,
come back to Terence, who's gave us how his. That's a long message, so, and my glasses ain't the right one, so I'll let you read that
right.
out.
Mhm. I will indeed. Right, gentlemen. He was pissed off me singing Bubbles and giving him cuddles. He kind of found it annoying. I have never heard so many excuses. At one point, I thought he was Arteta. No Sunday dinner for me. Oh my god. Poor old Arteta, though, eh? He's running out of excuses now.
uh, Colin says he feels that Swire might be the next one. I feel it will be in the first team squad next season. We'll see. I can see Damien. This is a long
I
comment as well. I'll get you to
yeah,
read that out when you're
I
ready.
understand. I understand where you're coming from, Colin, because Swire is a great little player. However, he has slightly gone off the boil to what he was like last season. Only slightly. But having said that, he's still a good player. And for him to get in and around the first team squad next season would be fantastic for him. And he probably would thrive in that scenario. I don't think he's ready for the first team yet, but I think he's ready for the training sessions, maybe being on the bench once in a while, you know. But yeah, yeah, slowly catchy monkey with him, I think, Colin. You know, he's a good player, though. Sorry, Damien's saying without being the bad guy saying
Yeah,
this.
I think I've read it.
All right, and
I'll let you
with
read it out
every
though, because
yeah,
I'm trying
and
to.
with everything you've said, we have to be aware of standards. Scholes is yes, Pot is a yes for next season. Others have to grow, which is basically what I was saying anyway, really. So
And then
to be fair,
he says I think Orford and Casey need loans, and I think Earthy needs another year. Personally, I have to say I'm pretty much on Damien's page with that.
yeah,
I
me
think
too,
next
me too.
season Skulls will be around the first team, Potts will be around the first team. We haven't seen Casey in the first team, but he's sort of around the first team. Maybe he's kept around there, not sure. That's going to be down to Potter. In Orford and Casey, I tend to agree that I
Yeah,
think they need loans. And Earthy, I guess Potter will assess him when he comes back, right? So we'll
yeah,
see what
yeah.
decision he makes. But it's a big ask to integrate a lot of youngsters into a Premier League side and ask
It
them
is, it
um,
is.
t- to perform.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, like Graham Potter's not daft, right? As we've already sort of discussed, but you know, he might go right. Okay, so right, these boys here, we've got Ollie Scholes, maybe Potts when he comes back, which he will, I believe. He might go right. See these two guys here. These are my boys that I'm going to use in the Premier League. And then the likes of Casey and Earthy and that, he might go, you know, I want to keep them around. I'll use them in the cup competitions. You know, might start off as we said, giving them minutes, and then half a game or maybe a start in the first half or whatever. You know, whatever the case may be. Potter knows what he's doing. Got absolute faith in him. He knows what he's doing with the young players more than he does with a squad of players. I think, um, you know, and I just think that Potter's going to do it the right way, and we may see them boys around the first team squad. But I think the ones that I mentioned, the other ones, they might see cup games if they're lucky. Yeah, but that's it. You can't expect 5 players a year to come. You
No, I'm
can't.
flicking through these comments now, and I have to say, well,
I
the
know.
chat generally
Yeah,
seems to agree with Damien's comment as we do,
yeah,
and I can't argue with anything he's saying here either. It's absolutely true. If it was that easy, there'd be a conveyor belt of youngsters coming through, and we wouldn't have to buy anyone, right? But the truth is,
exactly.
it's not that easy, and the the true quality that can play at that level and make it are
Yeah,
few and far between.
yeah. And Damien, you're bang on right with that comment as well. We are a huge club, and we have the platform to provide these players with outstanding development. And that's that is very, very, very true. And I wish a lot more people would understand that development isn't instant. You know.
I see Leslie's sympathising with Terence's son there. He's
Yeah.
and I think Damien's referring to when we were chatting about Kudus. He's saying about 85 minutes. It's the same as you. Either keep
Yeah.
Kudus or sell Kudus and get
240
20.
to
Yeah, I think that's
250 million
bit of
pounds.
40 to 50 million pound players, I guess,
Yeah.
uh, with the fee and hope they grow in value too. I kind of agree. I want players that want to play for West Ham. And if Kudus wants to use West Ham as a stepping stone, and we've got the buyout clause on him, and we realise that, and we get our money out of it, and he performs for West Ham in the meantime, it's fine. Of course, I'd rather our best players stayed, but you've got to be realistic, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right at this moment in time, right now, we have players that are still under development that are in the first team squad every week, like Lewis Guilherme. And I think you'll find that they still consider Somerville as a development professional. What I suppose on a building site you would call him an improver. They learn their trade on the job. Yeah. Um, and Somerville, don't get me wrong, he's a talented young lad. And I can't wait for him to be back. I really can't.
No, for
Um,
sure. He's a miss.
and I think Graham Potter favours him on that left side. I really do.
He played him as
Uh,
like right wing back, didn't he?
he did once, yeah. Yeah, he did. But I think he favours him out on that left hand side. I don't know why. It's whenever I see Guilherme in the training videos and stuff, everything is left footed with him. Everything. He might control it with his right, but every pass, every shot, everything he does, I've seen, it's been with his left foot. I think he's training his left foot up. That's what I think he's doing.
What do you think of Phil's question here, Budgie? He's
Sure.
asking.
For you, if Rice doesn't win anything, do you think he will regret leaving when he could have stayed and been loved and a one club man? Well, the one club man's not strictly true because he obviously came from Chelsea, but I understand what you mean from being a professional senior player. He may regret it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, mate. Listen, I don't know. I know I would regret it, but I am a West Ham fan.
Yeah.
I don't know where his allegiances are. I think they're with Chelsea, if I'm honest.
Well,
Um,
Tony's got quite an interesting response here. I'll see what you think about it. He says he thinks he will look back at his decision. Players need to move on at some point, but the reasons he said, like he wants to win trophies, it still baffles him why he joined Arsenal. So he believes he does perhaps regret it a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I think my view is I think he's ambitious, and I do think he wanted to move on and yeah, win trophies. I think he wants to compete at the high. I think he wants to play in the Champions League and be in those big games.
Yeah,
Um,
he wants to be seen by the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona, people like that.
although
I think that's where he wants to end up eventually.
whether he regrets leaving or not, I tell you what, I do think. I think he loves West Ham,
Yeah, he probably does.
and I I think that's why he's found it difficult a couple of times against West Ham.
Yeah.
And I think he
And
genuinely loves the club, right? So I think he probably wishes he could stay and achieve all of those things that he wants to achieve at
mhm,
West Ham and be a one club West Ham legend. But I don't think he believes he could do that with West Ham, so he believed he needed to move.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if that really makes sense or not, but that's sort
Yeah,
of
I mean,
my view.
I spoke to a mate of mine in the pub yesterday. I was playing darts, and badly, by the way. Um, and and he's an Arsenal fan, and he said to me, he said, "Look," he goes, "you know, Declan Rice at the weekend." He said, "I wasn't sure if he had a bad game for us or a good game for you,"
Yeah.
and I kind of saw what he meant. Do you know what I mean? It was almost like his challenges were half-hearted. Didn't really want to play against us. You know, it kind of appeared that way to a degree. You know, so I just sort of said to him, "Mate, listen. You know, once Declan Rice is firing on all four cylinders, mate, you know you've got a player there." I said he had an off day. Don't hold it against him, you know. But I do
Bren,
kind of get what he meant. Yeah, sorry.
Brendan was just sorry. Brendan was talking about the Man United thing with them shedding staff. Did you see about that? They're
Yeah,
going to shed another 200 staff on top of the 150 or 200 that they shed or something already. It's quite a lot, isn't it? But I mean,
yeah.
that's their club's business. Damien says if we win on Thursday, Potter's getting us to the Champions League.
Oh, mate,
Uh,
that'd be great, wouldn't it?
oh, and yeah, Tony's just saying there's a further 200 on the previous 200. Yeah, I mean it's like a cull there, isn't it? What's
Oh,
Damien
he's,
saying? He says, I'm telling you, Potter is a better choice than Floppategi. I think in half a dozen games, it's clearly obvious.
I, I
There's
think
more
you'd have,
structure and understanding about that team than there ever was under 20
yeah,
games with Lopetegui.
I think you'd have to be either in a coma or on some serious drugs not to agree with that. You know, Lopetegui turned out to be a complete mess, didn't it? That period was a complete mess.
I think Ian might be referring to our little segment earlier when I did that little comparison. And this is true, you know, there are caveats to it. So Ian says, Loppy had more games and an entire pre-season. I'm in Potter's camp. I like what I have seen, just a few games in, and with more games, his stats improve. Although I admit he wouldn't have been my choice. And I take all of that aboard and agree with it entirely, Ian. Yeah, it wasn't anything too serious with that sort of stat comparison. And I agree with all of that. It's
Yeah,
he hasn't recruited any of these players. He's inherited
yeah.
all of them
And although,
and he's had
you
no
know,
preseason. He's had and straight into a team that's depleted by injuries as well. So of course, I think the longer he's here, his stats will improve, and he probably would
of
not
course,
operate at that level over 38 games. Point
of,
taken. But I hopefully everyone took that on board, sort of when I was presenting that.
yeah. I
Anyway,
mean, although, I mean, like I said, you know, you'd need an almanac from, 2 years in the future to know what's going to happen. But the fact that you put your time and effort into doing that, Jeff, I appreciated it. And I'm sure everyone in the chat and everyone that's watching will have appreciated it.
It's only a bit.
But
It's not too
yeah,
serious,
but
you know.
but
It's just a,
yeah, but don't knock it though. It is a bit of fun, but also it opened up avenues of conversation for us all as well. So it was well worth doing, mate. Well worth it.
talking about
Wire
avenues of
22.
conversation. I'm going to try and catch up with the chat, but
Yeah, let's do
we've
that.
we've been on an hour already, and we haven't mentioned we've got a game on Thursday. So uh, I'll stick the Leicester stats up and let you go through them while I scroll through the chat and put a
Okay,
few
mate.
comments up,
Yeah,
and we'll start talking about what the team selection might
I'll
be.
look on the bigger screen when it comes
I'll
up. So I'll
fire
be
it up there.
yeah, good man. Right, I'm gonna have to wait about 5 seconds for it to come up there.
Okay.
There it is. Right, okay. Leicester City, league position 18th, 17 points. That's just below us. Yes. Um, current form: a loss, a win, and 3 losses. Brentford, a 4-0 loss at home. Arsenal, 2-0 loss at home. Everton, away loss, 4-0. Tottenham, a win, the one win. And Fulham loss at home. So their injuries and suspensions that they're concerned about is Harry Suter with an Achilles problem, not due to return until Christmas. Unfortunately, that is a shame for them. Fatawu, I can't say his first name.
No, I don't even know who
Uh,
he.
ACL potential return July, so next season. Ricardo Pereira, hamstring, the potential return end of February 20. I can't see what that is. 25. Right.
Happy.
Okay. Hi, Happy. And James Justin, ankle potential return end of February 25. Right. So none of those are going to feature this week, which is okay. What's the status with Vardy at the moment? Do we know what
He played last week.
he did? Right.
Mm.
Okay. So he's fit.
He's
Okay.
out now. Last three meetings obviously span across their relegation season, so
Yep. Okay. So
that's our last three meetings anyway.
an away 3-1 loss. Is that? Oh no, 3-1. Yeah, an away 3-1 loss.
Yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
they're all
Oh,
losses,
oh,
aren't they? I think.
oh, yeah. The one game full crew came on and got his goal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And in 23.
Tony, thanks for coming in, buddy. Catch up with you soon, mate.
Thanks, Tone. See you Thursday, mate. Um, yeah. Again at the King Power. A 3-1 loss again, and then a 2-0 loss. So we've lost our last 3
Yeah.
fixtures against them. Oh, blimey, I don't remember them being that difficult to beat. Bloody hell.
Uh,
Mm. Maybe we should have a word with Ipswich and Wolves. They've beaten them recently, haven't they? Was it Ipswich and Wolves? I think, I don't know. But yeah, mate, that doesn't make for great reading, does it? But hey, that was in another time with another
yeah,
manager
absolutely. And
or
we look at them now, they're
18
not in
other
great
managers.
form, are they? They're fighting for their lives, but they're
Yeah,
not in great form.
no, they're not.
Um,
They're not.
to be honest with you, I mean, lots of us hammers expected us to sort of brush Brentford aside, and I wasn't so sure and so confident about that. But this game, this is a game I expect us to win.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I agree.
and I think it's really important after such a great performance on Saturday that to back that up with back-to-back wins, which we struggle with, a win at the London Stadium, ever
Oh, what's happened there then?
any threat of falling into a relegation scrap. 3 points on Thursday is it's over.
Yeah,
That's that's it. It's done.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Just in case anyone's interested, it is currently 2-1 in the South Coast Derby. Brighton and
Oh,
Brentford. Brighton and Bournemouth. 2-1. Oh, is it going to be 3-1? No. Oh, no, that was actually could have been 2-2. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the other things that we also need to consider is that when Graham Potter came into the club, he knew he was coming in as a fire fire marshal. So he had to steady the ship before he can make it float properly, if you know what I mean. And I think that these 6 games we've seen steady progression in tactics and work rate, and we've seen an
the away
improvement in
performances have been very good, haven't they? I mean,
yeah, yeah,
Villa, Chelsea, and
yeah,
now Arsenal.
yeah. And to be fair, uh, I think this season in general, our away performances have been slightly better than our home
Yeah,
performances.
that's true.
I mean, we got a win at Palace, didn't we? You know, the only home result that we've had was Ipswich, wasn't it? Really, to be fair. I mean,
Ipswich, yeah, we played well against Ipswich. I think
yeah,
Ipswich weren't brilliant that day, but I don't think we should. I think West Ham were good that day, though.
yeah, we were all over them. But that I think that was probably the best home performance we've had. You know, and I think everything good that's happened has been mainly. Oh, what's that? It's a comment to me, is it?
Yeah,
Right, Budgie, truth be told, we have key players who are still under development. Somerville is the perfect example. Another one I think you'd be surprised about is Alvarez. And
I
I
hope they can
probably
continue to.
would be slightly surprised, Damien, but he is still quite a young guy. He's what, 24, 25 now, isn't he? 23, 24. So yeah, he is still under development. And the fact that he's come from the Dutch league to the Premier League, that's being under development in itself. It's a completely different game. So, um,
I'll
okay,
carry on. I've got the
yeah,
Leicester team. I'll put the team up that started now in their last game.
okay.
You should. Can you see that? All right, Budge.
I will do in about
When
5 seconds.
it arrives, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll try and.
there it is, mate. I've got it.
So
Okay.
that's how they lined up.
Oh,
Um,
right. Okay. So a familiar face to us out on that left-hand side in Jordan Ayew. I
Yeah, I
say
don't know if you
familiar.
start, but he started. This is their last game.
Yeah,
How they started. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. What about Patson Daka? Is he? He's not with them now, is he?
he is, but he
Oh,
didn't start their last game.
right. Okay.
But
Um,
he is in their squad.
yeah. Okay. Uh, really and truly, the only person there that really, really worries me is Vardy. I suppose Jordan Ayew to a certain degree. Cordoba Reed, I think he's a bit of an issue, but I say he's a bit of an issue, but hopefully he'll have Ollie Scholes to deal with. And I don't think he's going to get much joy out of him. He won't get much change out of Ollie Scholes. Or Emerson, to be fair. He won't get much change out of Emerson either. Emerson's pretty damn rapid. He'll be able to keep up with him. Don't you worry about that. But I think really Vardy and Ayew and Cordoba Reed are really the only 3 players that I'm particularly worried about. I think they've got a reasonable defence, but it's not great. It leaks goals like a sieve. And the keeper, he can be tested. Definitely can be tested.
And what I'll do, I've just bear with me. I've this is a bit of a combination of what I think Potter might do and what I might like to see, but I'm not. sure what he will do, if I'm honest. But
Right. Okay.
this is how I've put the line up, and I'd
Okay.
be interested to see what you think of that,
Right.
Budge. And
So
people in the chat, if you want to put
basically,
your teams in,
this is the lineup from Saturday's
it,
game,
it's not well.
with the exception
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Ferguson coming in and Souček going out. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
To be fair, it might be
Okay.
harsh on anyone who's going to come out of that starting 11 from
Yeah. Agreed.
Saturday.
But
Um,
I think if you're starting Ferguson and you're going to keep Ward Prowse on the starting 11, then Souček is the obvious choice. Because I don't think and I don't think you really want to try and move that midfield around too much, because it did work on Saturday. It worked very well, but this is a very different game. So I agree with changing it up slightly. Mate, listen, I'm in full support of that lineup. To be honest with you, Jeff, and I think it's fairly close to what you will see. Fairly close. I think Ferguson's probably about ready to start now. And that was the only question mark on the squad, wasn't it? Is he ready to start a game? Well, I think he is. Mm, yeah, yeah. I'm actually quite impressed with that, mate. I
well, I mean, I
definitely
don't
would
know
go
if
with that
that's what
back
Potter's
three.
going to do. I'd just like to see Ferguson. Here's the thing: we've got him till the end of the season. We're running out of games. How many games is he going to get if he doesn't start to play?
And
So, and we
in
want to
all
go.
honesty,
We said we want to go for these, so let's start
yeah,
with a striker, right?
and yeah, and in all honesty, Leicester is a game that we really must get 3 points from. If we don't, it's embarrassing, you know, um, because they are struggling, and we really need to pick up on our games as well. So I think this is a game we must get 3 points from. It's a must win for me, if I'm honest with you. I don't think a draw would satisfy me after Saturday's performance.
No, I think we
And
need to
that
win. I
lineup.
think we always needed to win this game. I think if we didn't win on Saturday, the pressure would really, really be building
Oh yeah, points
in the
wise, this
fan
would have
base,
been.
on everyone. Um, but I think that's a big win. It was a big win for Potter. It was a big win for the club. It was a big win for the fans. And we just need to follow that up with a really good result now on Thursday. And I hope we win well. I'm not personally don't predict that we're going to go and bash them up 4-0 or anything, but I hope we do.
Mm.
Um, we'll come to
Well,
predictions shortly. I'll
maybe
be interested if
maybe
anyone
we
wants to
can
put their
do a
team in the chat.
Newcastle
Let
on them.
us know what you think. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You know, we go up there and do what. Well, we go to them or they come to us, whatever, and we do what we did to Newcastle. Completely tear them a new one.
It looks like Collins gone with slightly different formation here, and he's gone back to a flat back four.
Okay.
His team would be Areola in goal with AWB, Tadibo, Kilman, and Skulls. He'd play Alvarez and JWP with Guilherme and Bowen either side of them, right and left, and then Ferguson and Caduce up front. And he says we will win 3-0.
Colin, if that happens, mate, fair play you. I can't see him playing uh, a back four. I think he quite
Damien
likes
says
it.
the back four is sus versus Leicester. I guess he's talking
Yeah,
about Collins' back four.
yeah. Well, any back four, but yeah, I think they will expose it.
So, what's your thoughts for Leicester? Are you confident Budgie, that we're going to get a win?
I'm right. Okay, I'm 100% confident that we're going to go out to win. Right, and I think the tactics has to be right. I think he has to judge it by game by game. And if he gets it right this week, like he did on Saturday, then yeah, everything goes well. We get a goal, we get a win. Sorry, I didn't mean to say goal. We get a win and we come away with 3 points. That's the perfect scenario for me. Is that all the players have now bought so far into this process? I hate that word, but that this this process of Graham Potter's that let's hope it's all brushstrokes from here, Jeff. You know what I mean? Just nice, easy moving
Damien says he
forward.
prefers. He says he thinks JWP had the easiest role in the midfield on Saturday in between Alvarez and Soucek. So he would just take him out and plonk Ferguson between Kudus and Bowen. So he's not much to his choice is to take JWP out instead of Soucek. And
Yeah, I
I
mean,
kind of
and
get it. I kind of get
you,
whatever choice it is,
yeah,
someone's got to give way, yeah?
yeah, yeah, and you do get that defensive and attacking threat from Thomas Sojek, you know. But then with JWP, you get tackling ability, the ball spreading ability, the free kicks, the corners, another captain on the field. But then you got a captain on the field with Thomas Sojek as well. So, it's kind of, you know, what I mean by a captain is not necessarily one that wears the armband, but one that maybe has or did for another club or whatever, or does for their country, but knows how to be an on-field leader. I suppose leader would have been a better word, but yeah, I think JWP he orchestrates a midfield well. That's one thing he does do. You
Ian says there's nothing wrong with changing the starting lineup. This is a totally different game than Arsenal. We should be implementing different players and tactics, the sign of a good manager. And I agree. We shouldn't
know?
be just saying, oh, that's it. It worked once
Yeah,
and now we
it
use it every
it's a
time.
winning formula. It's not.
Horses for
Nothing is.
courses. That's what I
Yeah,
say.
yeah, agreed.
And Damien wasn't talking about Collins' back four. He was talking about Leicester's back four. He thinks Leicester's back four is a little bit dodgy.
Ah, cool. Yeah, yeah. And you're right. They
And
are.
Palace won tonight. It says what a win for Palace. So I'm not across
All
the
right.
results. So
Okay. Well, we're 5 minutes into added on. Sorry, we're 2 minutes into 5 minutes of added on time at the Amex, and it's 2-1 to Brighton. I can give you a rundown on the scores if you want.
yeah, you can do
Uh,
if you like. Why not? We'll do a rundown on
okay.
them. We'll do some predictions and
Okay. So
we'll say good night.
Palace Villa, as we know, Palace have won that. I'm not sure what the final score. Oh, 3-1 to Palace. It's still playing on my screen, but that's because I'm about 3-4 minutes behind on these. And Wolves are 2-1 down to Fulham. Wolves are at home. And we also have the current Chelsea score as soon as it loads, Chelsea 3, Southampton nil.
Oh
So
yeah, no
yeah,
shocks there then.
no, no. And it's obvious that Southampton are heading back to whence they came. Um, Sadly, because actually Southampton's quite a good day out for the away fans. It's a
Yeah, it is actually.
nice place to
I
go.
quite like it down there.
Yeah, it's a nice place to go. It's one of the nicer towns to go to, for an away day, and then go to a decent stadium. Let's be fair, it's a decent stadium, close to the pitch. Really good stadium, actually. But yeah, it's a shame to see them going back down, but that's how it is, mate.
It is, yeah.
Um, yeah, so Chelsea are 3-0 up, and that's that. Oh, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid.
Well,
Go
we'll
on.
move on to our predictions for Thursday so that
Yep.
I can probably
Okay.
make a fool of myself like I did last week. If anyone wants to put their predictions in the chat, fire them in there and we'll read them out before we go. You predicting a win, Budgie?
I am predicting a West Ham win. I'm going to say it's going to be 3-1 because let's be honest, that little short ass Vardy's going to get a goal against us. He usually does, the little bugger.
He does, yeah.
Um, he's like Callum Wilson. You can't trust either of them to behave themselves. Um, so I'm predicting a 3-1 win, but I'm going to say we'll have the ball in the net 5 times.
Okay, cool. So you feel like we're going to create lots of chances?
Yes, I do. And I think we'll have 2 disallowed goals. And I have a funny feeling that we'll have a surprise on the bench this week as well.
Okay, who do you think that's going to be then?
He won't be able to. He won't be on the bench, but I
Oh,
think we'll see Mikel Antonio in there with the boys this weekend
do
or
you
this week.
really? Okay.
I do.
That'd be a boost. That'd be a
I,
morale boost, I think, just
it will.
for everyone
I've
around
got
the
a real. He arrived back today from his his training camp or whatever it was. His recovery camp that he went on. He
Yeah,
arrived
no, I
back.
think that'll bring
He
a real good
arrived back
feel-good
today.
factor. That will.
It will. And I've just got a funny feeling we'll see him either, I don't know, in a tracksuit or casual wear or whatever. Oh, no.
You've gone sideways, Budge. You froze up, Budge, at the minute. I'm sure you'll be back in a second. While Budge is frozen until he gets back, I'll go with my prediction. So I'm going to hope we can stop Vardy from scoring and say that we're good enough to keep them out. And I think we'll win 2-0. And I'll just come to the chat, see what you guys think. Ian says it's going to be 3-1. Damien says Potter should be looking at that game. Palace play a similar system to what we are suggesting. Okay. Tyler says 3-1 to the Hammers and 3-0 Phil's gone, so he's feeling good. Damien saying I never usually, but I'll go West Ham by 2 clear goals, 2-0 or 3-1. And here's Budgie back. Welcome back, Budgie.
Sorry, mate. My phone bloody died. It's plugged in, charging, but it died. It's charging from the laptop, not the plug. So it's like not powerful enough. It died on me.
And well, you excited Damien, so he would love to see Antonio.
Anthony. I think we
Like I
will.
say, I think it'd be a real great feel-good factor.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he's not going to be on the bench,
For
but
sure.
I have a feeling that he will be at the stadium and he will be with the boys. And I just got this real, I don't know, it's just, I haven't been told, I haven't seen it. It's just, sometimes you get that feeling in your bones that something's going to happen. And I just got a funny feeling that we're going to see Mikel Antonio this week. There is no foundation to it.
Damien says you did, Budgie. You did say he was going to be on the bench, and you got him all excited.
Yeah. I didn't mean it like that, Damien. I mean, sitting with the lads, he'd be there with the lads. Like the coaches and stuff are.
Right, okay. Well, listen, we've done all our predictions. We've been on an hour and a half, and it is the other half's birthday today. So
It
I'm
is indeed.
kind of pushing my luck. But we've been out for a nice bit of lunch and a few drinks this afternoon, so I should be all right.
Who
But I
knows?
really had better
She might
spend a
have had
bit of
enough.
time with her.
She might have had enough wine to have had a little snooze on the sofa
She
while she's
might, yeah,
watching EastEnders.
maybe. But before we go, I do want to
Right,
just say thanks to everyone for joining us.
as
Please hit the
always.
like and subscribe button if you haven't. Uh, but thanks for all your continued support week after week. It's great to see you all in the chat and build up these little relationships and have a giggle together and
Yeah,
talk about our great club that we all love. And
yeah.
we'll see you next week and hope you can join us then. And
Take care, everybody.
take care, everyone. 3 points on Thursday. Come on, you Irons. See you next week.
See you next week.
1-0 to the goal.